Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Batwoman Season 2 review series. And today I am going to be talking about episode 13. I'll give you a clue, which I have just finished watching earlier. And this episode was a lot of fun to watch. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. And we were treated to the live-action Arrowverse debut of Stephanie Brown. Now, for many hardcore fans out there who know that name very well, Stephanie Brown is a character from the Batman comics who originally started out as the Spoiler and later on became the fourth Robin and then upgraded to becoming the fourth Batgirl. So I was quite surprised to see Stephanie Brown because there was no reports or any hints or mentions that they were going to introduce Stephanie Brown. There probably was, but I didn't see any, nor did I read anything about it. And Stephanie Brown had kind of a semi-big role in this episode, but she wasn't really the focal point of the story. And the main focal point of the story was, of course, Sophie. And as we all remember, Sophie has now figured out that Ryan Wilder is Batwoman, and we were all left wondering what is going to happen now that Sophie knows the truth. What's she going to do with the information? Is she going to keep it to herself? Is she going to reveal it to Ryan? Or is she going to expose it to the Crows? So there was a lot of questions going into episode 13, and we got those questions answered and then some. And also in this episode we were introduced to a villain called the Clue Master. Now the Clue Master was a villain that Sophie arrested and had put away many years ago, and the Clue Master is now looking to get revenge for Sophie's part in having him sentenced. So what's the best way I could describe the Clue Master? I could probably say he's kind of like a poor man's Riddler. And by the way, we did get a little mention about the Riddler in this episode, but nothing to get your teeth into that much. The Clue Master, think of a game show host gone mad, because that's kind of what he was like. His motivations and the way he goes about things is very similar to the Riddler, but at the same time, he's kind of like his own villain in a way, but I wouldn't say he was as cool as the Riddler, because the Riddler's one of the best DC villains of all time. But in this episode, it was kind of like a classic revenge sort of story, which worked for the most part. I thought they did a good job on that side of things. But also in this episode, which I will talk about in a moment, it looks like now Sophie has finally revealed the truth to Ryan that she knows she's Batwoman. So it's going to be very interesting to see where they go next. But we'll talk about that in a moment. So with that all said, let's get right into it. Let's start talking about episode 13. I'll give you a clue. So we begin this episode in the past, set 5 years ago, and we see Sophie is on her first day on the job as a Crows officer and helps apprehend and jail Arthur Brown, better known as the Clue Master, a villain who lays out elaborate riddles. Sound familiar? And then in the present day, we see Clue Master has broken out of prison, and we see Batwoman is fighting a number of false-face henchmen trying to track down the location of Black Mask, but is stopped by Tara Roth and his agents. Batwoman chastises the Crows for ruining her plans and leaves. Now, this was a very funny but out of character moment, because Batwoman was essentially just burying all of the Crows, saying that, you know why, you guys can't do your job properly because you guys suck. So I thought that was a very out of character moment, but at the same time I thought it was quite funny to see a crime fighter just telling the cops, look, let me do my job because you guys can't seem to do it. So that was kind of hilarious to see. We then see Sophie has a girls' night with Mary to celebrate her 5-year anniversary with the Crows, which Ryan eventually joins in on. Oh boy. The night turns into a game of Never Have I Ever, which accidentally leads to Sophie awkwardly insinuating that Ryan is Batwoman, even though she already knows the truth, which she found out in the last episode. After they find a venomous caterpillar in the bottle of alcohol, they realise that it's the first in a string of clues from the Clue Master himself. As Sophie reveals Clue Master was the disgruntled host of the game show, Quizball, who went on a murder spree, leaving clues to law enforcement along the way, and he's returned to get revenge on Sophie for solving his puzzles. Ryan discovers a hidden symbol on the bottle of alcohol, which leads them to an abandoned hunting range. As Sophie reveals she didn't actually solve Cluemaster's initial puzzle, another girl who called into the Crow's tip line did, which turned out to be none other than Stephanie Brown. The three discover that Stephanie Brown is being held in a glass box, which is revealed to be Cluemaster's daughter. They then try to solve Cluemaster's latest puzzle to free Stephanie, shooting a series of coloured targets in the right order until she's freed. They give her the antidote, but she reveals a code written across her body, another puzzle. Stephanie reveals that she was the one who solved Cluemaster's original puzzle and that his endgame was to kill Sophie. They bring in Luke, and the two of them flirt as they begin to decode the pattern while Sophie, Mary and Brian go to the set of Quizball. They accidentally step on an explosive plate, triggering a series of video messages from Cluemaster. They begin to answer questions about Gotham's most notorious villains, which even gets a mention of the Riddler, Poison Ivy, and Mr. Freeze, and other well-known Batman villains as well. After they answer all of the questions, they get 45 extra minutes to stop the explosive plate. Sophie argues that the only way the games can end if she dies and reveals that she knows Ryan is Batwoman. Ryan tells Sophie how to get into the Batcave and gets a weapon that they'll need to escape. Ryan and Mary debate whether or not they can really trust Sophie, and Mary reveals that Sophie told her that Jacob is on Snakebite. Sophie arrives with the Batwoman grapple gun, which Ryan uses as a grappling hook to help herself and Mary escape the plates just before it explodes. Stephanie eventually cracks the code and realizes that the Quizball is really a decoy, knocking out Luke and visiting her childhood home. Cluemaster visits her wearing his Cluemaster costume and reveals that she was the one who solved his very first puzzle. He drops a smoke bomb, knocking her out with gas and locking themselves in a car filled with poisonous gas. Luke arrives in time and saves Stephanie. Cluemaster survives and is taken to hospital, and Stephanie and Luke talk about what her next step forward is, and they share a kiss before Stephanie leaves. Jacob injects himself with snake bites while at the park that Beth and Kate used to visit when they were kids. Meanwhile, Alice gets tortured by Black Mask and Cersei, who are trying to get her to reveal Batwoman's secret identity. Alice escapes the torture device, which was slicing underneath her fingernails, and knocks out Sir Kay. Alice calls Jacob, asking for him to rescue her, but he believes he's still hallucinating. Sir Kay captures Alice again, and the two of them bicker until Sir Kay reveals her identity to her, and by extension, Black Mask's identity. Black Mask tortures Alice again and reveals that she knows both of their identities and offers to give Sir Kay a new face. Cynosis reluctantly accepts, and Alice makes Sir Kay a new face, but when Cynosis leaves the room, Alice doubts whether or not Cersei's identity is legit. Jacob is also brought to Mary's clinic where the snakebite is making him convulse. Ryan and Sophie have a drink, and Sophie reveals how she found out about the Batwoman's secret. Sophie promises that she'll keep Ryan's identity a secret and hopes that the two of them will be able to start trusting each other. And the last shots we see at the end of this episode is Alice puts the new face on Cersei's face, and she realises that it's actually Kate Kane. And that's how this episode ends, and that wraps up my review. Overall, I thought this was a really good episode. Really enjoyed this one a lot. Now that Sophie is in on the secret, it's going to make for a very interesting dynamic as we go forward in the next episode. And Alice now realising that Kate Kane is actually the one working with Black Mask was an interesting twist, because I was wondering how long would it be before someone actually discovers the truth. So I'm wondering what Alice is going to do with that new information now that she's carved out a brand new face for her. So with that all said, I'm going to wrap this up now. What did you think of episode 13? Did you enjoy it? What was your thoughts on Alice now realising the truth about Cynosis' daughter is really Kate Kane? What do you think Alice will do with that information going forward? And also, now that Sophie knows the truth about Ryan Wilder's secret identity, do you think she could become a proper member of the team, or do you think she might just work on her own? And also, what was your thoughts on Stephanie Brown's Arrowverse live action debut? Did you enjoy it? Would you like to see more of her? And what was your thoughts on her part in this episode? Do you think she had a good role in it? And do you think we might see more of her in the near future? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Batwoman Season 2 review series, where I'll be talking about episode 14, which I am very much looking forward to talking about, especially with the way it ended with the big reveal. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, thanks for listening.